Now, returning you to the Children of Primus.
They have somebody just talk. You know?
And on that note,
Yeah.
what did Teletran 2 Frenzy Freestyle Sunday? How is everyone doing?
Pretty good now.
Not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, Toy Warp, you alive?
I'm alive, I guess. Holy crap, dude! That was probably
Yeah.
the second worst time
Oh.
I've been sick in my entire life, man. It was miserable.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, you were
there was a
sick last
point-
week, right? Or you weren't on
I've been sick.
anyhow?
I've been sick for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. There was a point when I was in the middle of my bronchitis, which, you know, I'm technically not totally over. And I was just trying to say something to Jess, and I just, like, hacked up half a lung, and for some reason I quoted Cobra Commander, and I just said, I was once a man. And I'm like, that's the vibe once you're, like, really in the trenches with this stuff, you know?
Holy
I
crap.
used to be a person, right?
Well, the same for myself. Like I'll make like these little funny character noises and stuff. My whole like higher range of voice is completely gone. It's been gone since middle of December because that same sickness that everybody's had, it hit me for like a few weeks. So then I've like lost my voice for a certain point, and it's like my voice is just stuck like this now, which I enjoy it, but it's just weird to not be able to have that full range of voice.
Yes, it's not as deep and sultry as it usually is.
Yeah, not as deep and sultry.
Stop! I can only get so erect. Jesus Christ.
Oh, God. None right above you. No, it's pointing at me. Towards Magnus.
And then
Shut up.
that's why this is Teletran 2.
And two, yes. Shut up, Saddam. I'll pick your nose for you.
I'll do it myself on stream. I don't care. Do it both two hands.
All right, let's see how that works.
I'll wipe it off on the carpet. Shinta, come up here, eat Daddy's burgers.
Oh dear. So Joseph, welcome Joseph, said this should be an interesting video. Can't wait to hear what folks have to say about the second Autobot commander. And James, welcome James, haven't seen you in a while, says Rodimus is a down-to-earth character. He has flaws, but he does his best to lead the Autobots. Wonder if Optimus was a young rookie who was like Rodimus. And we will get into that. I know there's been some hot topics just before we get into our main topic, fear of courage.
Yeah.
And I know one of them being the mask reveal, which I'm going to throw that to Toy Warp. But just before that, fear of courage, the newest iteration of Transformers. What can you say about them?
Okay, so I mean, I guess I can share a screen and try to get because I got a window with all this stuff happening.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's called Cyber World. It's not replacing anything that because they're still doing Studio Series and Legacy. And it's
There's a
meant to
reason
be
they have those
aligned
two
for
hot rods up,
younger
by the way.
kids. Yeah, it's gimmick based, meant for a younger audience. Cheaper figures. Wait, let me see if I can get the Toy Fair show floor images.
Something.
There we go. Here we go. Yeah, so...
I'm sorry. I love how Anthony's just going, like it's like that little circle window, you know, on your computer, processing.
Yep.
So the big centerpiece of this line is a big giant G1 Scorponok here in like fancy, colorful colors. And there's going to be smaller figures, like that is Mirage if you changed into a jet. And these are going to be like cheap little guys that cost like less than a core class figure. There's a Skybite that's a shark on wheels. That Snarl on the right who's in Junkion colors. There's a big Grimlock that's at the center of the line. A little Galvatron down there. Yeah, so this is going to be... this is the new thing they're pushing. There's going to be a series of 5-minute episodes on YouTube. And yeah, it's for the kids. It's a little more sophisticated than like Rescue Bots, but not quite as complicated as like Legacy and stuff. They're all supposed to be fairly inexpensive, fairly simple, and they're using it as an excuse to go nuts with the designs. Like, that is a Megatron toy that changes into a bull right there. They decided to make that one of them. There's another one that changes into like a tank, like traditionally, but they're like, we're gonna just throw in a weird bull Megatron. So yeah,
The
this is
Megatron I saw from that line looked like he turned into a mobile rocket launcher.
yeah, that's the other one. I don't know if they have a photo of him here,
Oh.
but yeah, that one's slightly bigger.
Is there? I mean, okay. Are we discussing this because there are people that have a problem with this toy line being so kiddified?
Not really. I've generally like. Okay, here's a few more pictures.
I know why I wanted to bring up because of what I'm thinking they could maybe be doing, going by what the will building setup is. That would relate to different versions of Hot Rod.
Yeah, there's the Megatron that you saw. It changes into a tank from a big to a very very tubby robot. Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't heard much like dislike for it because I think there's like it's been very clear that it's not replacing the current stuff. It's just going to run alongside it. The worst I've heard is people going, not for me." A lot of
Yes.
people want to
Okay,
get this
all right.
Skybite though, just because it's a shark on wheels. And people are like, "That's really funny."
I see this as Hasbro trying to make a return to that 5 and under bracket. These
Yeah.
toys, because I mean, let's face it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Everything toy wise has to be targeted to the 5 and under age bracket because 5 and over are the toy companies are losing these kids to screens.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
losing these kids to devices. So yeah, I didn't have a problem with them. I mean, if that's their core audience, they have to chase it.
That's true.
And I'm really interested in what this show is going to be. This 5-minute YouTube thing. I don't know if it's stop motion or live action, but the little description that they gave said they're going to be in a video game style world, and they have to engage in all these strange challenges and figure it out. So I think they're sort of going to try to make a little YouTube show that aims at the kids, that looks at the screens and shows off the cool toys.
So jumping off of Fear and Courage, a thought I had as soon as I heard about the world building setup for it was, you remember how Hot Rod and everybody was sort of, well, not Hot Rod, but everybody
Yeah.
else was sort of in the quote unquote matrix or the games, digital world in that one group of episodes in Cyberverse.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, I mean, I doubt they're going to go that dark, but I mean, maybe they'll go with a lighter version of that. I mean, so it's not uncalled for to have that, robots trapped in, a digital alternate reality. I mean, it's been done before, and with a show to boot that had a shorter runtime, because wasn't Cyberverse episodes like 10 or 15 instead of 20
Yeah,
or 30 minutes?
11 minutes.
11. And then the other reason I brought up the Energon / Superlink Hot Rod is because in that show, the Autobots are a little bit mixed up. Like, Hot Rod initially starts off as a herald of Unicron, but then you find out there's two Unicrons, those that use Unicron to bring back planets that he had previously destroyed. And then, the Decepticons, so Megatron, Starscream, and, all them using Unicron, different artifacts of, like, if you ever play, like, the Castlevania games, or do you have, like, Simon's Quest or Castlevania Symphony of Night, where you gather body parts of Dracula, you're essentially doing that, but with Unicron. And they also do that in the Japanese Beast Wars cartoons. But, I mean, I could see that being... There's also... But I know people are saying... There's it's interesting that they have this mixed match of, like, good guy, bad guy characters that normally wouldn't be interacting. Just So, but there is precedent for that. But like I said in Energon, where initially Rodimus and Optimus are on opposite sides, and Hot Rod looks like he's working for Unicron, but you realize it's more nuanced than that eventually.
I see. Orlati just joined us. I mean, Christ, we'll let anyone join nowadays, won't we?
That is-
Same with
that is
Tor being the Hot Wheels and
miserable
Matchbox guys. How we felt about these.
That's when somebody mentioned Mask earlier, I'm way more excited about the Hot Wheels Transformers because those
Yeah.
are two
I was
very
surprised. I
iconic
thought
Hot
those
Wheels.
look pretty good. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah, I wanted to
First
ask
of
your
all-
opinion on this because I don't know anything about Hot Wheels, but those are the things that interested me the most, just because they look like cool car robots.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah.
The blue
you're
one is
able.
Twin Mill. Twin Mill is an original Hot Wheels creation. It's two V8s on either side of the car.
The blue
It's
one.
it's an actual functioning car. It is just insanity. And the cool part about it is every Hot Wheels game, it's in there and you get to play with it. Seeing
Nice.
it as a Transformer is totally cool. And then Bone Shaker is the same deal. It's like a Hot Wheels original. It was made from an actual, functioning car that they've actually put through a
Just
lot
talking
of
about
different iterations now. So yeah, as a Transformer, Bone Shaker looks awesome.
Yeah, those are two of the ones that I'm most interested in from what was revealed here. There was another thing they revealed that I'm like, this should be right up my alley, but it's probably going to be ludicrously pricey. Here we go. I just popped it up in my tab. They're doing a Void Rivals set where they're taking Commander Jetfire from Siege and releasing him with the two main characters from Void Rivals. And you probably can't tell at this resolution, but those two guys look to be done in the style of old-fashioned G.I. Joe O-ring figures, which I think is really neat. And I'm like, I don't have Commander Jetfire, and I love that comic, but this is going to be a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and it's a Commander-class figure with two action figures in a comic, so it's probably going to cost like $1 billion or something. So
You've got a hot rod cover. Speaking of the devil, the
So these guys
Get You
took my idea.
15.
yeah, let's see. Out of the other things that are interesting, they're doing the Combaticons after Superion because they've now shown us Vortex, so just the first one of them. They haven't shown us anybody else, just here's Vortex, which means we're doing the rest of them. This might get me because the Combaticons are my favorite combiner team, so, I might start going in on this. There's a bunch of, they're doing some more guys from Devastation. I think it's under here. Yeah, they're doing a couple of troop builders from Devastation. They're doing a Seeker and one of those ground soldiers. So it's a Seeker in purple with swords. In black with swords, and one of those runabout units in blue. And I think these are going to be a Target exclusive, and they're going to be in a 2-pack. So if you like Devastation, then there's more of that. There's a bunch of other things too, but those are like the main ones that I think are of interest to me, and also.
We're talking
this group.
Devastation, the video game?
Yeah, the video game.
Yeah, isn't the Optimus already came out
Yeah.
in some regions?
Yeah, so they did Optimus from Devastation as a little deluxe figure, and over here they're just doing, these are two of the generic enemies from the video game also, just as a troop builder. You can see the Devastation logo down in the left corner.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm glad they're bringing out the Void characters, or the Jetfire from Void as an exclusive San Diego Comic-Con. Remember what I mentioned before a long time ago, that if they're going to reintroduce some of the new lines, I was basically saying they should take the characters from the Transformers Skybound, what's called comic books, and start introducing that into the new main lines. So I'm glad
That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing that.
Yeah,
I'm
what we're
excited. See,
seeing
now
here-
I'm excited.
Yeah. So what we're seeing is the pipeline about how long it takes for toys to get made, because presumably the Void Rivals thing, they came out, it took everybody by surprise, and it's been a couple years now since that comic came out. So that's about how long it takes for them to get toys in production. So this is like the first thing from that. So we're seeing that start to happen.
Bravo.
Yeah. There was other stuff there, but like that's the most interesting stuff. Oh yeah, also the Mask Revival, right? Which I think.
Okay,
is
hold
really
on, guys.
interesting.
First of all, we're gonna say mask. We're gonna say it the right way. We're gonna say mask.
Yeah.
Okay.
The mighty
correctly.
power that can save the day.
Mask.
There's a very good group shot that I just popped up. Somebody's hand is blocking one of them a little bit, but other than that, that's the full initial lineup.
Actually, I'm not seeing it in the screen share. Okay, I think
I'm
you're
not
still
either.
sharing
I'm not
the
either.
old screen.
I'm looking.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm looking at the YouTube feed. I'm not seeing it.
Hold on. Let me
don't see that.
restart this.
Get your stuff together, man.
Share
I've actually
screen.
talked
Yes.
about Hot Rod, so just to put it
There
out
we
there
go.
and actually being a responsible adult for once.
There we go.
So
Yeah.
says the guy with
So-
boobs and bots in his name. Don't
I
talk to me
know.
about being a responsible adult.
So
I'm
Took the word
back.
out of my mouth.
Did you miss me?
So this is the full initial lineup. There's the 4 vehicles there: the Rhino, the Thunderhawk, Mayhem's one, and the little motorcycle. I don't remember their names. Yeah, so they're the same scale as the classic toys.
So about 1/25th scale.
Yeah, you can't see it at this resolution, but like there's more detail on like the human characters. They have eyes and a proper face now. They painted them on, so they look a little less creepy.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because they're actually on my Facebook feed. They actually showed a toy from the '80s compared, like they did a side by side shot from the toys from the '80s and
Yeah.
the new release that came out, and it's very similar. I think they did a really good job at trying to keep it,
Yeah,
to the classic there.
I'm not totally sure. Like, it might just be reissues of the vehicles or new ones. The action figures are new. I'm not totally sure if these are new molds or like reissues of the old molds. They also said that they don't have price. They didn't give up price points yet, but they said none of them will cost more than $100 American. So they're trying to keep them relatively affordable,
So
unlike that
that means
really expensive third party.
Flip
So
it
that's
back to the
100,000
Camaro, and
Canadian.
I can tell you if they're reissues or new molds.
Right here.
You can't tell if the truck, because the truck's top looks a little taller
Hey,
than what it should be.
that's an IROC to you, okay, buddy?
No, this came 1 year before IROCs existed.
It doesn't matter.
It's not an IROC.
It's an IROC.
You don't even know what IROC stands for.
It's a Berlin.
Sure, I
Red.
do.
Yeah? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tell me. Without Googling. Without Googling. That's what
It's
I
an
thought.
Italian ride on.
Yeah, Italian ride-on car.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it doesn't give an international race of champions or anything. No, it's the Italian ride-on car.
Well, that's what we call them here in Canada, right? So, well, in Toronto, because all the Italians used to drive those cars. That's why.
Well, back in the days of
Back
like
in the days.
the Miami, you saw an IROC and all here is it.
You hear the freestyle in the background.
Yep, a little freestyle music in the background.
Yeah.
I wasn't scared.
I
My
can't see
my
them.
78 Formula 400 would eat them Camaros alive around here.
Excuse me, IROC.
Even though I didn't grow up with Mass, what's the one? Is it the one that's the car that has the gull wings? Is that the one you keep on calling IROC?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
that's Thunder.
That
That's
one's cool
Thunderhawk.
looking.
Yeah, it's Thunderhawk.
Plus, my favorite
It's
color is red.
modeled. It's modeled after a Camaro, and it looks very similar to the Camaro IROC. And IROC
Yep.
stood for International Race of Champions. International Race of Champions was a series where they stuck NASCAR, IndyCar driver, F1, sprint car drivers, all in the same similarly prepped Camaro race cars, and turned loose to see who was the best.
So
And
there's a good
question,
look
Fear
at
and
the
Courage, you're in the
figures.
same boat with me. It's not. Mass isn't something you grew up with. You mainly know from the other guys in the group.
Well, let me tell you. Well, yes, but also when back in like 2016 or so, when IDW did Revolution, the big multi-brand crossover, Mask was one of those things, and so I mostly know it from there. You can see Miles Mayhem there in the back. I kind of want to get that one because Miles Mayhem, as written by IDW, was one of the most entertaining bad guys in comics that I'd ever read. Because
And what?
like this was this was like a fairly grounded universe, like most modern comics. But they wrote Mayhem like he was just straight up an 80s cartoon villain just in this world that was not like that, and it was really funny. Whenever the bad guys did a team up, which happened a few times, it was clear that none of the other bad guys liked him because of how like weird and like
It's kind of like that
pompous-
scene from The Dark Knight when the Joker reveals
Yeah.
himself to the other crime lords for the
Yeah.
first time. They're like, "We ain't having it."
And he's like this big, loud blowhard that's prone to all these big speeches, and like he does the straight up like, "Oh, they'll never get past that obstacle," and the other people are like, "No, they probably will. We're trying to plan around that." Stuff like that.
Wasn't that
So-
towards the end of
That's good.
IDW 1.0?
Yeah. So I might get that one just because of loving that character in the comics from back then.
He kind of
Since you've
reminded
already
me.
been talking about the comics, since you're an IDW comics guy, do you want to comment on Hot Rod on IDW? Because I wanted to, you know how like how Rodimus and Bumblebee end up having the Matrix split between them, and I always saw, since I'd experienced Energon / Superlink, that kind of remind me of Rodimus and Optimus in that series. with their doll leadership role.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my only opinion on that is, like decades after the '80s, they still didn't want to make Hot Rod the leader. They teased Rodimus Prime. Hot Rod
Yeah, the
had
so
the
quote
Matrix for a
unquote deaf
little bit.
Optimus Prime that really
Yeah.
isn't actually deaf. He was like
Gave it back.
the
Got the title
Optimus
Rodimus without the Prime.
bot are formerly known as Optimus Prime, kind of like when Prince said the artist formerly known as whatever.
Yeah, the vibe was like it's all these years later. We still don't want to put them as like the new Autobot leader. We're gonna make them the lead of Lost Light over here. I liked Lost Light, but it was very much like a runner-up prize because all these years later, they still don't want to make like a new version of Rodimus Prime happen.
And did they use them at all in IDW 2.0? Because I only got
No.
about as far as Skylink's biting into Skywarp like a Slim Jim.
He got better, Toy Warp. Don't worry.
That's right.
Yeah, no.
I see that Rodimus has a spoiler, by the way.
Yeah.
You said no, Fear and Courage?
Yeah, no, they never.
I almost had
they never got around to Hot Rod.
Well, I guess what there was that was it Last Bot Standing, but wasn't that more meant to be like a love letter, kind of like what the Dark Knight Rises with Batman and Old Man Logan was the Wolverine that was sort of meant to be the equivalent of with like the IDW 1.0, where Hot Rod's like found as this old like horse buggy carries on some backwater planet.
Yeah,
I don't know if you had read that comic or not.
Oh, the last Transformer?
I read that comic. Yeah, so to clarify, right before IDW lost the license, before Skybound got it, they put out like a 4-issue series to close everything off because they were about to be done. And it was called Last Bot Standing.
Oh, Last Bot.
And it was it was about an old man version of Rodimus in the future, like on a alien planet that was like Western themed because they're really going in for the Logan imagery, I guess. Dealing with like a tiny little group of Transformers that show up and try to drain the planet dry. And it's just supposed to be like the end of Transformers, and it's one of those things where they were vague about what this was the finale of. Maybe it's the comics, maybe it's the cartoon,
You didn't talk about the fun part about how he finds out they're basically Soylent Greening organisms around off of different planets. Since they can't get Energon easily anymore.
Energon, yeah. That's the horrible plan.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a few years ago.
Doesn't matter. Spoilers.
So now it is 9:30 our time. As we're going to jump into our main topic about Rodimus Prime, I'm going to pick each of you to give your opinion. I'm going to start off with Mr. Magnus. What is your thoughts of Rodimus Prime?
I love it. Always have. I think he got the raw deal. Everybody go, oh, well, it was his fault that Prime died. No, Prime talked too much is the reason why Prime died. If he'd have just taken the shot, it never would have come to that.
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him.
Yeah, no shit. But I've got all, let's see, was 1, 2, 3. I've got all 4 versions of him sitting here. Of course, like what Toy Warp said just a second ago, that one's got a spoiler. Mine does not. So this is the G1 one.
Yeah.
And
I just want to... Oh, go ahead.
The new one.
Yep.
And I can't bring both arms up, so I'll have to... So
Studio Series 86. Oh, no, the Kingdom Rodimus.
Yeah, Kingdom and then his trailer.
Ooh.
And then, I'm sorry, this is my favorite one.
Oh, the Power of the Primes one, yeah.
Yeah, because it's Rodimus and Hot Rod.
Yeah, I had a thing about that I'll get to eventually.
It's both of them, and I also have the black one.
Yeah, I got him too, as well as his Nemesis counterpart. Because I feel like those black decos for both of those molds really fix some of the jank
both of them at the same
that
time.
you would have otherwise with the multiple colors.
This one,
Rodimus Unicron.
This one turns into this one, just in red.
Cool.
Yeah, a lot of the Transformers sites that they cut on Hot Rod, they cut on Rodimus Prime. I like him. I don't think he did a bad job at all. I mean, Prime never knew peace.
Mm-hmm.
Optimus Prime was in war from the time he became Prime
Point.
till the time that he died. He was in the war. So Hot Rod not only had to lead the Autobots, but he was also like more of a senator, because after the war, you know, they started kind of policing all the peaceful planets. You know, so I think he did a fine job. I got no hate for him.
Cool. All right. Quickly catch up on the comments. Actually, just before that, RJ Eagle was asking which, hey guys, sorry I missed it. Which toy line was it? So it was the newest Transformers toy line that just came out. Fear, what was the name of it again?
Cyber World.
Cyber World. Impactor says, okay, are we going on that Hot Rod killed Optimus, or are we going to keep him innocent until proven guilty?
I'm gonna go get those comic pages because I feel like it's been long enough. A lot of people probably haven't seen those.
There you go.
It's an important bit of my thesis.
You know, RJ says, I guess it's time to sell my Combiner Wars combiners. Leanne says, good evening all. Good evening, Leanne. And Shiva Kobe says, back from Mega Costco run. By the way, Thursday I got Evil Windblade. I mean Slipstream.
Oh.
And RJ Eagle says, always like Rodimus with the stashel.
Isn't it
That's because when they
bar
first started,
stash? Am I
Yeah,
One at a
right?
time, guys. One at a time.
yeah, I'll tell you the reason that they gave Evil Shattered Glass Hot Rod and Mustache is because the very first like Shattered Glass stories they were telling were
There it
riffing
goes.
on the Star Trek Mir universe. So they gave Hot Rod a beard because Mir Spock had a beard. It was a homage to that. And I just heard it all repeated back at me. Thank you, myself.
That is funny.
Where is it? Where is it? There, I found it. I'll wait my turn, but I found the bit I was talking about.
Now the red one doesn't have the stash.
That is a red one.
Now, I'm going to throw it over to Toy Warp. What is your thoughts of Rodimus Prime?
All right. Well, first, while we're speaking on Rodimus Prime, I have a reveal.
Ah.
Well, somebody mute their
Are we
background.
finally
guys.
going to get to see it?
This is correct.
Yeah, Magnus knows. So this Rodimus is a survivor from when I was a kid. I mean, I think I've only got like 5 or 6 survivors in the collection from when I was a kid. However, I met someone a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
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 Now,
So
considering
jealous.
considering my Optimus Prime is also one of the survivors, and I've got Peter Cullen's autograph on him. Now it's really cool that the second survivor that I have is also signed. Now, hold up. The big part of that is this one.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
AliExpress.
And
Nice.
what's really weird was what he signed it with wasn't a Sharpie; it was a paint marker. So
Yeah.
you literally had he literally had like the table where he would do the pictures and autographs and stuff, and he had a cool down table next to it, so the paint and everything would dry.
Nice.
Now, one more thing. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because of the glare, but the upper autograph on the poster is Judd Nelson's autograph too, along with everybody else's on there.
Good. More's added.
And then Potato, because she's cute.
There you go. And
The
potato.
internet loves dogs.
And cats.
Now, what you missed last week, Toy Warp, is that I bid on a lot of G1 Rodimus parts, and there were 2 wings in it.
Ooh.
And I was going, oh man, this is perfect. I'll get one. I'll send one to Toy Warp. And in the last 3 minutes, it hit my max, which was $45. Because, I'm getting 2 wings. I figured, if we get it for that, then we split it. That's what we're going to have to pay for them anyways, $26 a piece. And in the last minute, that lot went up over $95.
Oof.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess I probably would have. If I was bidding it myself, I probably would have done 90 for a couple of spoilers. Yeah.
If you don't have a spoiler by July, then when TFCon Toronto happens again, I will go back to the same parts guy and be like, "Do you still have any Rodimus spoilers?" Let's put it that way.
But because we waited so long, he's going to say no. So
Yeah, well, it's worth a shot, right?
it's worth
Yeah,
a shot.
but you know what? We also have to be
Right.
careful because if he's watching, then as soon as he sees one of us go up to his table, all of a sudden the price is gonna like triple.
Spotting a sucker from a mile away.
He's like, I know you need that spoiler. That's all you need. So whatever I charge, you have no choice.
Mhm. All right.
So you have multiple
the-
guys on your stream that are looking for this piece.
Hmm.
Looking for
Get them on the
that is our
Get
currency.
them on the phone and let them bid off.
Yeah.
Make them fight in Mortal Kombat.
That's it.
Whoever
So-
eats the loser's intestines like spaghetti noodles.
So now over to Toy Warp. You didn't give us our opinion on Rodimus Prime yet.
All right. So I think I pointed out a couple weeks ago. Pointless Hub, a big channel on YouTube. The guy's hilarious. Does movie reviews, and he's reviewed every single Transformers movie. Now he started with the 07 movie. And he got through all the live action stuff, and he went back and did the 86 movie. But along with that, he also did, in the same video, reviews of season 1, season 2, and then the ensuing season 3 after the movie.
Cool.
And I think he really said it best. The character of Rodimus was one that really, went through a humongous arc that probably necessarily wasn't great for 8-year-olds to be watching. Us as adults can much more relate to Rodimus now than what we could as we were a kid. We just didn't like him because he wasn't red, white, and blue, and the voice wasn't as cool as Peter Collins.
Yep.
But his arch was actually pretty unbelievable until the end, until they decided to bring Optimus back, and everything that Rodimus grew into being Rodimus, he just kind of threw like, all right, I'm Hot Rod again. It just totally ruined all that work.
Didn't he do that in Combiner Wars as well, ultimately? Because he gives
they
up
made
on
it
being
textual
Rodimus,
there.
and he's like,
Yeah, man, it's kind of a waste of a great character to have him in season 3 like that, because like I said, you can appreciate it much more now that you're an adult. But as a kid, it just didn't make any sense to sell that to 8-year-olds.
And you know what? Going with that point, I fully agree with that, because watching Rodimus years later, as an adult, you have a better connection with him. Whereas, like, I remember as a kid, there was a complete disconnect. But it's interesting, his arc, because years later, watching Thundercats and then rewatching Transformers, realizing Lionel and Rodimus, Hot Rod Rodimus and Lionel are essentially the same story arc. The difference with Thundercats is like they introduced Lionel right from the beginning, as opposed to like it's 3 seasons later when we get Rodimus. So we're already attached to Optimus, whereas like in Thundercats, right from the get-go, Lionel has the exact same storyline, but he becomes leader from the beginning.
I was unaware of that just because I never got into Thundercats.
Well, essentially how it begins is they leave their planet Thundera, and I haven't watched it in a long, long time, but they leave their planet Thundera. Lionel is a kid. As they leave, all of the Thundercats leave the planet in these pods to go searching out for a new planet, I believe, almost similar to like Superman. But the difference is Lionel's pod had a malfunction and turned him from a kid into an adult. And he becomes the leader of the Thundercats. So essentially an overnight process, exactly the same as Hot Rod becoming Rodimus, whereas like essentially just you're quickly now the leader of a bunch of other adults. As as Rodimus had Ultra Magnus as his mentor, Lionel had Panthro and Tigra as his mentors. And then just as Optimus had, say, Alpha Trion, and then Rodimus had Optimus, Lionel had Jaga, which was his mentor. So the storylines are pretty much similar.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
I think the comics by
funny how-
up to 12 issues now, by the way. And the Chitara mini series of 5 is finished as well.
It's funny how we
You
don't
brought
have
it
an
up.
opposing voice here, really. Everybody's just like, yeah, cool.
Okay, so now I'm going to throw over to, actually, just before we get over to Fear, I know the one episode of Web World where they kind of try to dissect Galvatron's mind in season 3, it would have been interesting if they had a similar type of episode for Rodimus.
Well, it's sort of what Bird and Hardest to Bear was about. But they didn't
True.
have a science. They just had a unfortunately accented Japanese kung fu master dissect it instead.
Yes. So actually, in the comments, which the other set in Bach Arts is in the comments, it
Well,
says
go
then
to the comment before me if you want to, because that's branching off of the comment before it. That was branching off what Magnus had mentioned.
there you go. Mention Hot Rod being a senator at the start of Prime Wars. He is as well along with Starscream and whatever.
That
Flame-
Mistress of Fame, Priestess of Fame, I can't remember her name.
Right. And then you also mentioned, then branching off my prior comment, Starscream and Hot Rod being senators in Combiner Wars was mirrored by Bumblebee and later Windblade with the Starscream in IDW 1.0.
Then I think I had one more comment I just made, I think.
There you go. And by the way, if no one can say anything about Bayrod, I just realized something about him from Forged to Fight resembles some aspects of him in Marvel G1 Rod.
Want me to go ahead and say that now?
Do it.
So, and Anthony can get me with the right title for the Marvel G1s. Was it the time travel story, something 05, 01, whatever it's called? What was it?
Target 2006. Yeah.
Target 2006. And isn't Hot Rod one of the time travelers from the future from that, along with some of the other movie cast characters?
Yeah, specifically the 86 Autobot cars, Hot Rod, Cup, and Blur. Because, selling toys.
So now I've never seen The Last Night, but I can at least comment on him being in the Netflix. I mean, not the Netflix, the Kabam version of Forged to Fight, because he was one of my mains of my main 5 for my because you have a 5-bot team in that game. And I remember one of his specials, and you have like 1, 2, 3 special gauge charges. Was like he could stop other bots' movements with his time, distillation gun or whatever it
His
was.
time-stopping
But that
gun
made me
could
think
stop the
of,
time.
that storyline from Marvel G1. I mean, I'm like kind of grasping for threads because, I don't think any of us are Bayverse guys, but I figure we still got to be fair and give him his, a little bit of a shaker acknowledgement.
Listen, you know what? I know Magnus kind of pointed me out there when I made that look. I have my issues with Michael Bayver's Transformer movies. However, you know what? Funny enough, I was kind of watching them this past week, and at the end of the day, for me, they're just fun to watch now. Like I'm
I can agree.
I'm not being a critic anymore. I'm not pointing out things that, hey man, when I first saw the first movie, hey, Prime didn't have a mouth, right? Stuff like that, right? So now I just watch it and they're fun now. They're They're fun to watch.
Okay, get him out of here. Just get him out. Out.
I watched
Be
I
gone with
rewatched
you, evil devil.
everyone but the last night this summer, so and I had fun with them as well. So I agree with O.
Yeah.
Not you. Jeez,
There is something like
face for.
no. I'm just saying it's
Such a
you know
stink
you got nothing else to watch and you put one on and you're like, you know what, I can watch it without falling asleep or not cursing at it. So.
And I think I remember
Make
very
one.
early on in the first few streams, either maybe it might have been as far back as when I was only still in the chat, but it was around the time when we did the Transformers draft. And I remember we kind of, even though we didn't a lot of us, we don't really care for the Bayverse movies, we did agree that a lot of the Decepticon designs, like Blackout and Barricade, look cool as fuck. The original characters, anyhow. Now, the new versions of, like, Megatron and Starscream, not so much, but, like, the original to the movie Decepticons were, like, they're good, they're cool.
Okay.
From what I remember, a lot of us agreeing on.
Yeah, not all of us.
Not
That's
all
why I
of
said a lot, not all. I know you know semantics.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they don't believe in having schools and systems in Florida and Jurassic Park down there.
My impactor agrees with Mr. O. Now we get over to Fear Courage. Your opinions of Rodimus Prime.
A lot of things that have already been said. It's like the Back to the Future quote, I guess you folks aren't ready for this, but your kids are going to love it. It's like, I guess you kids aren't ready for this, but when you're folks, you're going to love it. With his G1 story being better for adults than with kids. And speaking of Back to the Future, because it's strangely relevant, the crossover comic that IDW did with Back to the Future to promote the Gigawatt figure featured them traveling to a future where Rodimus Prime was the Autobot leader. And why is this important? Because that is one of the only times I can think of since the 80s where they just had normal Rodimus Prime leading the Autobots. It was that, it was like sort of like Combiner Wars there, and then that's it. They've never in any of the shows, any of the comics, anything since the 80s done traditional leader Rodimus Prime again, because the well of negative fan opinions has just been so poisoned that they just never do it. Like IDW sort of teased it, but then they didn't follow through, and the character just became Rodimus without the Prime for the rest of the run. And I think that's unfortunate, because the character gets a bad rap entirely because they were more complicated than Optimus in the 80s, and people weren't really ready for that. And that even sort of extends to the merchandise, too, because we like to point out the various Rodimus Prime toys, but I'm like, let's ignore the ones where Hot Rod changes into Rodimus, right? Because, in my opinion, those are celebrating the movie, not the show. Because, changes into Rodimus Prime at the end. If you look at ones that aren't Hot Rods, it's really, they've only done 4 figures. They've done the original, the little Koro Q one, the Titanium, which I don't have, and the Kingdom Commander, and a few repaints here and there. And those are the only times they've been like, this is just Rodimus Prime, the old put-upon leader from the 3rd season.
Are you talking about those little titanium figures?
The Titanium series ones. They did transforming ones. There was an all-built.
Okay.
Yeah. I should probably get it because it's pretty nifty. They did a Rodimus Prime, like a G1 one, and he was all built in, so like he didn't have the trailer. He still had the trailer design, but he just changed straight into the robot, like on the cartoon. It was pretty nifty. Yeah, so my opinion is they just need to do a Rodimus Prime story again, but it's been decades and they still don't want to. While I'm here, let me
Well, it's funny you mentioned it, because this is the only time that that season one ever showed Rodimus separating from the trailer.
Yeah. Every other time, the trailer became the legs, right? There's a third-party figure that people really love called DX9 Carry, because it's the only other time they've done a design where they were like, let's not make the trailer exist. Let's try to do an all-built-in robot, just because we can, just as an experiment. Yeah, that's like the only time they did that.
The only time, which,
Yeah.
then it's just like when you go back into G1 Comics and it's the truck is Optimus and the trailer's Prime. So then theoretically, Rodimus is the robot, and his trailer is Prime.
Yeah. And I.
Let that play one more time. Look at the animation. He's rolling against gravity.
Yeah.
He's rolling uphill, falling downhill.
Thank you, season 3.
Yeah,
Is-
remember,
is that-
they were like,
Is that
ACOM
like
is
trying
cheaper,
to
let's
stop
use them
yourself
as our
going down
studio.
falling down the stairs?
Yeah, we're talking about a character that can fall upstairs.
An
here,
earlier
okay?
episode where he would have been falling down the hill, and they could have used that, just recycled that animation from that episode, even though he's falling downhill. I mean,
No, he's
No,
falling
I'm trying
uphill.
to
I'm
say.
pretty sure he fell uphill there.
Yeah.
So I have I've showed this off ages and ages ago on the show, but I think it's time to show it off one more time. I shared scans here from the Marvel Comics adaptation of the 1986 movie. Now, the important thing about this is, movies get comic and novelizations all the time. You're like, whatever, they don't really count. The Marvel Comics adaptation of the movie counts because it's canon to the comics, mostly the Marvel UK comics, but this is a version of the story that happened in that universe. Galvatron's in his toy colors. It's the year 2006 instead of 2005. Megatron, you'll notice there, has his black helmet, because he's Marvel Megatron. So this matters more than these things usually do. And this is a version of the critical scene where Optimus gets shot. And in the panel on the right, you can even see they're doing the movie dialogue. No more, Optimus Prime, grant me mercy, I beg of you. You who are without mercy now plead for it. I thought you were made of sterner stuff. And you can see Megatron reaching for the gun there. And then Hot Rod doesn't interfere, and he pulls the gun out, and he says, "So you think I'm a clumsy has-been pile of junk? Now you'll learn why we are called Decepticons, and why Megatron is the mightiest Decepticon of all." And then he shoots him. And in fact, if you look just underneath Optimus there, you can see the silhouette of Hot Rod minding their own business and not interfering. There's the spoiler and everything.
Yep.
So, in a canonical version of the movie, in the Marvel Comics, Hot Rod didn't interfere and Optimus still died. Therefore, they should not be blamed for that because it was inevitable. There was nothing they could have done.
Yeah, Prime should have just shut up and took the shot.
Yeah.
I love how Anthony finished that off therefore,
Yeah.
as per my last motherfucking email.
I think about this too much. I have that locked and ready to go whenever that's the thing, I'm like, I wish we had to have one of those boards that sports people used to circle stuff, so I could be like, look, there's Hot Rod's silhouette, circle, 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 not interfering with the play,
Okay, now, does anyone now think that Anthony in his closet, he has the strings attached to different plot points that he has mapped out on the back wall of his closet about Hot Rod didn't do it?
There's
I
TV
wish I had
shows
that
based
good
on
The
memory.
that.
conspiracy theory guy meetings is
It's called JFK.
and Jess just walks in and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna exit back out the room. I do not need to go to bed in the bed. I will sleep on the couch tonight."
No,
There's a
He's
better
got a
version of that
tinfoil
scene where
hat
there's
on.
no dialogue. We just look at each other and then she just slowly backs out without saying
That's it.
No, it's the JFK magic bullet.
Yeah.
No,
Right
Mr.
to the left. Right to the
Mr.
left.
O, what your thoughts on Rodimus Prime?
Hold on, you skipped Mr. Boob.
Well, I've been
Okay.
injecting, trying to branch off of everyone else as we go in because it's been
Yeah.
I kind of said make sure we address little plot points about him. So I kind of been
Sedum's
sort of
talking
redundant for me
tonight.
to do it.
He's cut off from the Mountain Dew.
I know. We're gonna put him on mute now. I think they really, really screwed up this character. We all know originally the next Prime was supposed to be, Ultra Magnus, right? It was supposed to be Ultra Magnus, versus
I think it was
Galvatron.
always
That's
a
why
red
if you look at the
herring.
toy line, if you look at the toy lines, who are the two big bots, right? So, they did a lot of rewrites. They made a ton of changes and edits and so forth, and they decided to change the movie. And this is the reason why, Hot Rod doesn't get his love, because at the end of the day, there was a big change, and everybody was just like, okay, we're going to put this storyline. Okay, fine. They went with Hot Rod. I have no problem with Hot Rod at all personally as a character. What they could have done, and actually Spin had mentioned this already before. Yeah, he could have been that Lionel kind of character. They also had another character during the '80s that they could have emulated a little bit as well too. His name was, I don't know, Luke Skywalker as well. Going from from finding out he's going to be a Jedi now, and he's going through his transition from from New Hope to Empire Strikes Back to to Return of the Jedi. And what they could have did, and just like in Star Wars and just like in Thundercats, they had Jaga there, or they had Obi-Wan. They could have had Optimus Prime still pop up, in that ghost figure, helping Hot Rod grow and mature into that position of leadership. Sorry, becoming a leader, right? But they screwed up on that big time, because I just think they just kind of scrambled this whole story, try to put everything all together, and this is the reason why, as kids and growing up as adults, we never had that love for Hot Rod, because it was already started as crap. So had they done that, I think he could have been a really awesome character, because there's no problem. I have no problem when there's a transition from one leader to a next leader. We see that in stories. We see that in other what's called worlds of TV shows or whatever. But they could have did a really, really, really good job with Hot Rod. But they fumbled it right from the beginning, and now I think it has become a big running joke, and that's why he's not getting his proper due, or he's not going to get that almost leadership moment or that he deserves, because it's a running joke now, and I feel sorry for the guy, even though he's not real. I get that, okay, but I think they really screwed up on this story, where they had a lot of potential that they could have used, and take examples from other storylines.
Well, I would tie in with your two parts that I would tie in with your point. Because in a sense, how you were saying that the next leader should have been Ultra Magnus, but with all the rewrites and everything, they changed it. Unlike now, when movies are coming out and there's all sorts of spoilers and everything's like, basically the movie's already out there before it's released. When Transformers came out, the toy for Galvatron and the toy for Ultra Magnus, both of them were classified as city commanders. So as a kid, all of us thought, well, Ultra Magnus and Galvatron are these next leaders. But then we also thought, well, there's going to be Megatron and Optimus, and there'll be Galvatron and Ultra Magnus. So we had no idea of how the storylines are turning out. That Megatron becomes Galvatron, and that Magnus isn't the leader. But to your other point, in terms of Optimus guiding Hot Rod, in the G1 version of Hot Rod's written bio, it says that he's just the all-American kid, just protects Daniel, has fun, but he would one day love to be a leader like Optimus. So it's funny how they already wrote that in there, but then they just threw him into that leadership position.
It's a great potential story there. You get what you want, but it turns out to not actually be
Nope.
what you wanted when you
Exactly.
Well, again, because I go back to all the rewrites, right? And in the the last minute change it. Look at, for example, Captain America #4 that just came out.
get it.
It
The movie
had
that
so
was in
much
reshoots for
potential.
longer than it was filming.
Well, there you go. It had so much potential. We saw some trailers. We heard about the Scorpion societies that was supposed to be in there as well too, and we got something totally different, right?
Oh.
And it didn't do as well. It had potential, and that's what
Honestly,
happens. Sorry.
and imagine if didn't spoil like the Red Hawk reveal, like how much more impact that would have. I hadn't seen the movie, so I don't know if he's actually used that much in the movie, but point still stands. It would have been more impactful if it was just like for 5 minutes, if they didn't just show him off in the trailer already.
Yeah,
Well,
I
that's the
forget
thing,
who.
right? It's good to have some surprises. Like when as kids, when we saw Optimus Prime pass away, we were like, "Oh man, that sucks," and everything and so forth. And then obviously when we saw Ultra Magnus pick up, the leader of Matrix, we're like, "Okay, cool." And there was that cool swerve after that. It's Hot Rod is the one that is the true leader at the end of the day. you know, that whole line right there is fantastic. I had no problem with that as a kid. Yeah, as a kid, oh my god, Optimus Prime died, boohoo, But okay, fine. There is that need for a transition to new leadership, and that whole storyline itself, as an adult now, think about it, it's pretty cool how they written that part, or they came up with that. They just didn't follow up on it, and I think there was maybe some regrets or remorse, whatever. And then they just shit on it, and they kept on what's called promoting more and more of who Galvatron and Ultra Magnus and even
Well,
Cyclonus.
well, you know what? I think it's and how I used to say before, it's unfortunate that Transformers didn't get in the hands of the Marvel writers during the Infinity stage, because unfortunately Marvel just doesn't have that pull in terms of writing and creativity as it did in the earlier movies. But exactly as you said with Hot Rod catching the Matrix as Optimus drops it, it's no different than Captain America, when Mjolnir like jumps into Captain America's hands and everyone's like freaked
Very
out.
popped, yeah.
Yeah, like Transformers never had, like in recent years, never had a scene like that. Whereas it's like, oh my gosh, this is what we've built up to after 20 movies. This is it. But after that whole phase, like MCU is just not what it used to be, unfortunately.
I'll tell you this: like back like when we went to go watch, or when I watched the movie, the only pop in that movie in the movie theater was when Grimlock was like flying in space saying, "We're gonna kick Unicron's ass," right?
And
Mhm.
then they
And
literally
he
do
kicks him
so.
in the ass, and then you see all the kids are like, "Yeah, kicked him in the ass," because he used the word ass, right? So, that was the only pop. But like again, like it had so much potential, and I believe now it just became a running gag on Hot Rod of that whole potential that he had, what they could have done, and now it is what it is, and
Mhm.
it's unfortunate. I like Hot
I
Rod.
mean,
I actually like his figure. I actually like his Headmaster figure as well too. I thought that was a great figure as a toy.
Yeah, the Titans Return one. Yeah.
Yeah.
don't forget, a
Go
couple of
ahead.
Yeah,
years
it does have
ago,
a nice car mode.
Oh, Toy, what are you saying?
I mean, a couple of years ago, don't forget the. I mean, I know it's not canon. It's like I think it was like a what if comic, but it was
Oh
really
God.
good. Yeah. Instead of Optimus dying off, Hot Rod takes the Matrix and becomes Rodimus until the end of. It basically runs through the movie, until the end of the movie when Rodimus sacrifices himself to destroy Unicron and Prime recovers, and it gave him, it really gave him kind of like a hero's arc for dummies, for I don't know, casual fans that didn't see the growth of Rodimus during season 3, that kind of, gave him that hero status.
I just like that comic. It was written by Brandon Easton of the War for Cybertron show fame. It very clearly has a lot of resentment for the season 3 characters. Like a bunch of them, get killed because the ship they were trying to get to Junkion on just crashes and explodes. It's
But
not a very well written piece of material.
no, but even in the movie, like you see Hot Rod excited, like he had passion, he's excited, he had that go get him, like he's all want to get into the action and everything, and then when he becomes Rodimus Prime in the cartoon show, it's like he's depressed.
Well,
Yeah,
but
It's like very depressing to watch the guy because he's like, I don't know, man, I don't
but
know,
that's
I
the
right?
think that's
disconnect,
interesting.
because
Yeah.
as kids we're like, oh, here's this kid type Transformer, we can connect with him, he's just like one of us, because we were all between the ages of what, like 8 to like 12, 13. Then he becomes an adult and we're like, nah, it's a disconnect. Now
Hold,
we're adults, now we understand Rodimus so way more than we did like 30, 40 years ago.
hold on, guys.
Spin,
Later
do
for
you
the
feel like
21st century.
Hold on,
Thundercats
guys.
with Lion-O
Wait,
kind of
hold
handled
on.
that? Lion-O kind of psychologically, obviously, was still a child, but biologically, because the Matrix changes Hot Rod into Rodimus. If
Hmm.
maybe if they handled more like that, it would have felt more fitting, and it maybe kids that are maybe starting to hit puberty could relate to sort of the feeling awkward in their own body if they went that angle.
I'm gonna add on more to what you just said, and you're hitting my point there. We saw, even though Lionel had grew in that pod, right? Even though when he came out of that pod, he was still a kid minded, but we saw him mature, okay? And we saw how much of a great leader he became because of the help that he had. And that was cool. That was awesome. We were rooting for that. With Hot Rod, when he became Rodimus Prime, great. Now he's a leader. But we didn't see him mature into that leader. We saw him become a leader and then just became depressed. He became an emo. You know what I mean?
Or even if there was a build
That's what
up
happened
to
to him.
see him descending into the depression, but it's just
Yeah,
like the time gap happens between the movies and the third season. He's like,
correct.
Why?
Uh,
You weren't depressed at the end of the movie, dude. What happened?"
Yeah.
Well, 'cause at the end of the movie, they scored a great victory, and they thought the war was over. And then on the show, they're just hit with this like multi-level whammy of now I have to know how diplomacy works. Oh no, the war actually isn't over. Um, I got to deal with
Now we got
that.
Quinton to deal with.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole
Springer gets to go off and have adventures. Like I used to. I have to stay here and deal with all of this. It's relatable. Hot Rod, Rodimus Prime is the Autobot leader of the 21st century, of 2025. I popped that photo up there of the G1 toy face. Take a good look at that face and tell me that.
look how happy he was.
Tell me that you don't
He's
feel like
dead
that some
inside.
days.
Yeah.
Some days you wake up and that's just you. That's just the mood. That
You know,
is
and
intensely
it's
relatable.
it's funny how we say that because I'm just thinking, some many months ago, just dealing with certain personalities, and Rodimus makes sense where it's just like we're all a bunch of adults in our 40s and early 50s, and everyone's acting like babies. Like, get over it. Everyone grow up. Diplomacy has to exist somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to grow up.
the
Fine,
thing-
toys are us kid.
Exactly. You know what it kind of reminds me of? You ever watch Big Bang Theory when Leonard got into his depression over Penny? And what did he do? He started to listen to music and bought cats and stuff like that. That's what
gosh.
Rodimus Prime remind me of, in a sense. Okay, and that's why a lot of kids shitted on him. Let's be honest. Had he had, if he had that transition, like Luke Skywalker or Lionel kind of thing, right? Kind of attitude, we would. I think personally, we would have enjoyed him even more. I think we would have forgot about Optimus Prime. But if you look at Ultra Magnus, what colors did he have?
Red, white,
Red,
and blue.
white, and blue.
hmm
Right? You look at Hot Rod, yellow and red, and black.
fire.
Right? It's all fire. And that's my point. Like, he should be on fire, man. Like, he should be like, yeah, let's do this. Okay, the war's back on, guys. Let's go get them. Let's go kick some ass. But
And
did
he
do
was
that?
that way in the start of the movie. He was really like,
Yes, he was.
Let's
But
go
then-
at it. And it's
yeah,
like,
but-
they just totally dropped that aspect of his personality.
Correct.
I just
Just
love how
because
Anthony
the Matrix changed his body.
Anthony
He
pointed
developed
out
muscle mass.
his face there, and I really can't see the face past that. Spoiler.
Well, it's just funny, and I'm like, without going political, I'm just thinking of the episode where Galvatron keeps threatening that he has this ultimate weapon, and to the point where at the end, Rodimus is like,
through it.
if you had this weapon, you would have released it. I'm just gonna walk right up to your face because you ain't got this weapon, and I'm just thinking. It somehow relates to Canada and US in current stages right now. And I'm like, there's a Galvatron that keeps yelling, I've got this ultimate weapon. And I'm like, you've been saying that for like how many weeks? Where is this weapon?
March 4th.
March 4th.
If I had more, I'll stick up my toes too. I agree. 3 times over. 4 times over.
So
We got
RJ
RJ
Eagle
here. Yeah.
says, I think it's hard to separate Rodimus' persona from Hot Rod. No matter how I look at him, reverting back to Hot Rod so much didn't help. The separation between Orion Pax and Prime was easier.
That's true. They do tend to get treated more so as different characters because often Orion Pax gets blown up and rebuilt. Like Transformers 1, for example, they don't treat them like that. They are pretty much just the same guy with an embiggening and a deeper voice. But like G1, they're like different guys. And a lot of
Cool.
things are somewhere in between.
So, as we're gonna round out the evening, and as I always thank you guys for hanging out and thank for all the comments
Alrighty.
and like and subscribe to our videos. And what does everyone have upcoming for the week, starting with you, Mr. Magnus?
Hold on, wait a minute. Before Magnus starts, Spin and I we had talked the other day. I am going to ask all of our subscribers, okay, and anybody that's watching, help us get to 500. We're close, guys. We're like what?
We are, really.
40 away, okay?
Share the videos.
Yeah, share those videos. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much. But can you spread the gospel of the Children of Primus and get them to subscribe to us and all that? We want to hit that 500. Okay, we've been teeter-tottering around that number, and it's like we got to get there, guys. So we're asking for your help. We're asking for all the Children of Primus out there. Okay, please help us out and help us get to 500. And maybe the closer we get to 500, we might do a little contest or something. I don't know. Just saying.
We might pay you in Rodimus wings. You never know.
Oh God. I guess you could use them as giant batarangs or some.
Something. Okay.
They are the currency around here.
All right.
That is
exactly.
the currency. Next
So-
to maple syrup.
Yeah. Stating that, Magnus, go ahead, sir. Sorry to interrupt there, but go ahead, sir.
All right, so BBTS. I've still got 6 things sitting in the pile of loot. I'm waiting. I'm going to wait the full 25 more days that I've got before I have to have this section come in, because I have Megatronus and Universe Breakdown G2 that are released in March. So I'm hoping those 2 are going to hit, so that this box will come in. As far as things that are out, again, if you're looking for that, Tetrajet Skywarp pre-orders are still up at BBTS. If you missed out on Earthrise Prowl and Siege Deluxe, or I'm sorry, Siege Prowl and Earthrise Trailbreaker, those pre-orders are now up. The Phantom Strike Squadron 4 pack is up. These are the things that were hard to come by when they released the first time around.
Yeah.
So
They're just good
they've
figures.
they've got a second printing coming out. So if you're needing them, get in there and get them.
Nice.
My G1 Whirl is locked up in Kansas City again. I don't know what it is about Kansas City's mail.
So,
Anything that I have that comes through there gets stuck there for weeks.
in IDW, Whirl is a chaotic criminal who's frequently in trouble. So when you said he's locked up in Kansas City, I was like, oh, geez, what did he do? What did he do again? That's in character for him.
Toward vintage
Yeah,
reviews.
I did get my stitches out as far as physicality for this, and that was wild because I mean there's 4 little incisions up here where they did this, and they were like 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch big stitch, but they were deep. When they pulled them out, the stitches were like this long. And dude, the next 2 days, the shoulder would not sit still. It just sit there and vibrated where they pulled those stitches out.
So to
Sound like a hockey player.
all of our subscribers, please donate so we can get a arm like the Winter Soldier for Mr. Magnus.
That's right. That's right.
A giant replica Ultraman pylon that's super
Yeah,
inconvenient because it's right in the way.
Launcher.
Yeah,
A little rocket launcher on the side of the arm.
that's probably legal.
Probably.
Was it Freakenstein that told us how he was like on his moped or motorcycle and he had the cosplay gun with him? And he got pulled over
Yeah.
by the cops.
Yeah, see, on this side of the border, you can't do that. But I think there's probably certain states on your side of the border that you can get
Probably.
away with that. Probably.
Oh, definitely.
Hey, guns!
Yeah, we have
Gotta
we
love
have a
being a
lot
Florida
of
man.
we have a lot of open carry. You know, when I was in high school, I had a shotgun in the back window of my pickup truck driving
God bless
to high
America.
school. Yeah,
Actually, I remember one time my dad was going hunting because my mom and dad lived in different counties, but I went to school under my mom's address because he swapped weeks. And one time he was going hunting and he had his shotgun, so he dropped me off in the apartment complex next to my school. And then I had to walk over because of him having the shotgun in the back. Because this was after like Columbine and all that type of stuff. I went to 97 to 01. So I remember that exact, like looking in the back of his truck, his Blazer. And I was like, yeah, we probably shouldn't drop me off at the school parking lot, Dad.
Right. RJ Eagle says, great point, Magnus. And don't forget Crasher coming up. If you missed the first time like I did, we'll be getting.
Yeah, that was one of the
Okay,
things. I mean, we already
I
knew it was
didn't
coming.
see
But they showed it
Crasher
off at
on
Toy Fair.
BBTS yet, so
Yeah. Well, this
Is that a
isn't a straight
GoBot?
reissue technically. It's in Age of the Primes packaging, so it's counted as part of the new line instead of being a rerun. The
Cool.
toy's identical though; it's just a new box.
Now, over to Toy Warp. Mr. Toy Warp, what do you have coming up?
Being sick, I haven't been able to put out any videos, and my voice still isn't 100%. However, once it does get back to 100%, on the Cruisers Motorsports channel, I will be finishing up the 4-part series of the reviews on the 90s Bandit movies. Going to review the last one. Hopefully that video will be out by Friday. Over on Toy Warp, be looking for part 2 of the real history of G1 Transformers. If
Yes.
everybody watching hasn't caught that, you might want to, because I have got pulled off of Yahoo from like, I don't know, I think it was like 2000, 2001, somewhere around in there. The history of G1 Transformers before it was retcon with the 13 primes. Fills in a lot of holes, and yeah, it's just, I thought it was really good. I guess maybe it wasn't, since it didn't get a whole lot of views, but you know, that's YouTube.
Yeah, everybody go look. It's interesting.
No, I liked it because, I mean, like after watching the video, it's a lot of little plots and points through all the 3 seasons, and mostly, yeah, through the 3 seasons and the movie were just all put together in how that video was explained. So I'm interested in seeing part 2.
And then finally, be working on, probably next week, be working on the next bot review for us here at Children of Primus.
There's a lot of options.
A lot of options. Now,
lot
over
of
to Set on Bach Arts, what do you have coming up for the week?
yeah. One thing I forgot to add.
Oh.
I forgot to add.
Yeah.
Show Z store has Ocular Max's Ventus, which is the Masterpiece Blades, which I believe is the 3rd or 4th part of the Protectobots that's been released so far. The pre-order for it is up.
Nice.
I just glanced over at this other screen. I was like, oh shit, I didn't say that one.
Over to you, Sedum.
So since we were doing backstories like earlier on, as Impactor said, so Boobs and Bots was originally called Bleach and Cloth, which was a kind of like, if you're familiar with Impressionism painting, that was meant as an insult. You only painted an impression of the painting. So the main 2 characters are called Bleach because they have bleached blonde hair, and Cloth because they deserve that job. And what were their names? Stephanie and Sarah, but Stephanie, she was a burlesque dancer. So I did that comic 2012 through at least 2016, like on and off. At least there was one year I did at least 1 strip a week. But back then, I didn't have the experience I do with like dance photography. So I want to, and then since whoever, if you follow me on my personal Facebook, you see like the gazillion, like half of it's like Japanese, burlesque or Australian burlesque that I happen to follow. So I'm going to be reformatting some of my old comic strips for Instagram, and then posting like redesigns of the characters that would be more fitting for like the range of the movement that I want to be giving the characters now that I didn't have the knowledge to do back over a decade ago. More immediately than that, I think I showed the progress on this prior, which is like a reference to Alphonse Mucha's The Four Arts painting and this old PVC statue of Malia Rage from Guilty Gear. But I'm gonna be maybe after this, but more likely only tomorrow, be experimenting with these colors. This is a brown, not a black. To fill in all, which I'm not looking forward to doing. Then the last thing will be on Tuesday. Oh no, two things. I'll be Tuesday before my usual class. While I'll be working on that picture I issued. I'll be picking up the second issue of this, catching up. Oh, picking up the second issue of this TMT X Naruto, getting what I'm missing of Ultimate X-Men, then getting the last issue of this Chitara,
Nice.
and catching up on Witchblade, which is, I can't remember, which ironically enough, so Witchblade, I have a friend from Qatar, head sharp and everything, and if you ever seen like the Witchblade anime, it's more out there than the original American comics by Mike Turnell. So here it is. She's someone who doesn't look like someone who she looks like the type of person who would be offended by the comic. She loves the anime. So it goes to show with leftists being like, "Why just I'm offended for you?" The meme where it's like She-Ra's like, "By the power of white girl, I'm offended on your behalf." And then on Wednesday, I'm gonna be on sewing class number 3 of 6. And I'm gonna be doing we're working with repurposes, like either kimonos, like sleeves of like robes or ties, but silk. And let me see. I'm gonna be making a scarf out of these 4 fabrics.
This is Selim getting in touch with his feminine side.
But I'm kind of tempted to go back with this brighter red one. So, well, just like you have to draw, like keep in mind, like I have to draw the human body like in a nude. That helps me draw characters for comics. And then understanding how sewing works helps me, especially if I do start doing my old comic strip again with the burlesque dancer. A big part of that series was something I would bring up. Stephanie would show Sarah like her burlesque costumes, and a lot of the burlesque I saw in Virginia had a big aspect of it was parody and homage and even outright cosplay, but it would be like sex up Cookie Monster Pikachu and all sorts of weird shit. But yeah, Cole works like, ooh, sexy Cookie Monster. He knows he wants it.
Nom nom nom.
Yeah, I see that drool.
Look at Selim.
during
Look at Selim here
the
changing our stream into a Joanne Fabrics commercial. What is this
But
noise?
it does help me realize.
I'm fucking with you, Selim. I love you. I love you,
How the materials, especially if I start drawing any seams, and how the fabric would move, so I can draw. The movement of the fabric on addition to the movement of the characters better. So that's a big reason I've been wanting to do this like for decades, like at least the early even as far back as high school, just to have a better knowledge so I could better illustrate stuff.
Cool.
So that's the main reason I'm doing it.
And Mr.
And it's only 6 weeks. And I don't have to pay for it because it's with the studio I'm with already.
And Mr. O, what do you have coming up for the week? We can't hear you.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Muted.
Not as much as Mr. Boob. Well, I finally got.
You can't be too funny around sick people. You're gonna kill Toy Warp.
I know. Well, hey.
It's Teletran 2.
I'm the whole reason this exists.
Oh god, it's Teletran still be dying. Yeah, that's great.
Oh gosh.
Okay, let me stitch this up here. So first of all, here I got that picture, Anthony, for you of the. I don't know if you can see it. Here we go.
Void Rivals, yeah.
Yeah, so there they are.
I showed it earlier. I wish it wasn't such a big, expensive multi-pack because I really just want the two Derek and Salila, the two Void rivals, but you
Yeah,
got to
that's
get the
pretty cool.
Commander Jetfire.
Yeah, no, it's a great. I'm definitely going to go after that one.
Yeah.
Well, I finally finished that article about chirping. Teammates chirping each other on hockeyneeds.com. I'm actually going to be writing another article very shortly, and it's funny because it's about getting yourself pumped up as a hockey player. So maybe this one's almost related to Hot Rod. Instead of being out depressed, let's get them all pumped up, ready to lead. So it's all about you're a hockey player. You may had a couple of shitty games or something like that. How do you get yourself pumped up for your next game, right? And stay positive. So I'm going to be doing that. Look for that on hockeynews.com. And then basically Spinning, I and Anthony, we're going to be getting ready very shortly for a TFCon. Toronto, Mississauga, whatever you want to call it. But stay tuned. We'll talk more about that.
Cool. And just before we get over to Fear of Courage, Mr. Magnus had sent Mastermind Creations Ocular Max Vetus Blades, also known as Blades, from the Protectobots. So that's the one that's is that pre-order? That is a pre-order right now.
Deposit of $1.
They're around 109 American right now.
Okay.
Was that a deposit of $1?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's just like a pre. It's just like
Yeah,
a pre-order.
Show Z doesn't do a free
Sure,
pre-order.
Canadian. Look at that Canadian. $144,000.
Yeah, kind of be like how GameStop used to have you require at least a minimum of $5 on games you pre-ordered, kind of like that.
A lot of time, it's like they want to make sure that you have a payment system that actually works.
And
So
put
it's
that back
like-
up and go down and seal Kabad. It's got a picture of all of them Kabad. This is actually the last one.
Is this sponsorship here?
Ooh.
They're only
yeah,
trying to
helicopter.
bring people towards
Looks
cool
nice.
things. So this is the Ocular Max one, right?
Correct.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are the
these are
ones
these are masterpiece size. They're 7-inch figures.
that, third parties are all do all kinds of different things.
That's what she
Ocular
said.
Max is the one that I always
Protectobots.
hear the most positive things about. Actually, I have a couple of those stuff from them over the years. They make toys that don't suffer a lot of the foibles that third-party stuff do. They're actually fun to play with.
I think that'd be a really great gift for a person on this panel right now.
I.e. yourself.
Some guy named Spin. Because I don't
Speaking
know.
of which,
Yeah.
because in 1973 on a Friday night, March 2nd, deep in the voids of Cybertron, DJ Spinister was born.
What?
That's right.
Really?
This is your
Really?
birthday. I forgot about to tell
Happy
that today. Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Oh,
Right,
geez.
brother.
Amigo.
Awesome.
You kept
Thank you.
kept it quiet. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
This one.
You're what now? 26, right?
Yeah.
26 with an extra 30
He's 12.
Okay.
He does that
something
same
years
thing
of
I
experience.
do, saying
Yeah.
your whatever 29th birthday.
reliving
Nice.
25 extra 27 years of experience.
Listen, we're all 12. Just say it. Just admit it. We're all 12.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I mean, we're all men who collect
Yeah,
toys.
we're men. We don't grow up. We just grow old.
That's it.
Right. That's right.
Every one of my peers is exactly the age I am at any given moment.
And over to you, Fear. What do you have coming up for the week?
Well, if you go on to Children of Primus and look under the blog bots, I did my big review that I just named a bunch of Lokis because I just talked about all the ones I had and was like, what are they? How do they work? Why are they popular? Why do I
tell.
like them? So it was a
I
very.
think you
it was
lit
a
him
very
up.
Yeah. So it was a very rambly thing, not my usual format of stuff, but I had fun writing it like that. So you can check that out right now. Yes, I made them glow. These two glow. Yeah, beyond that, I've been taking photos of VNR Optimus because, I don't have anything new that coming in soonish. I got my pre-orders, but whatever. And I thought I'd look at some older things while I'm waiting on new stuff to come in. And he's a favorite of mine, as well as kind of a unique example of a figure because they just did him in collaboration with Volvo, so he changes into a Volvo truck. Hopefully I can get this out by Friday. I did not have any time to take any pictures this weekend. I've been snapping some during the stream. I say that a lot, and then I have it out by Friday anyway. But I always am giving myself the insurance anyway. The only time this year that I have missed a week was because of those 2 blizzards in a row we got, and I needed to spend like every waking moment shoveling snow. Other than that, I've been putting everything out weekly.
Be
Tell me
quiet,
about
Tour Warp, with your Jurassic Park and emotional
I
support
just-
alligators.
I know this is the Teletran 2 segment, but that S word's a little strong. And
A lot
cold.
of
Hey, I
S
know
words
the
in the
rest of
last
us
few
have
weeks.
to deal with snow, even me and Mr. Magnus. But come on, don't spoil Florida for us by pushing it in our faces.
On that note, catch up on all of our videos, subscribe to our channel, share it to your friends, ask them to subscribe and like our videos. And as we say at the end of every stream, until all are one.
Till all are one.
We now return you to the Children of Primus.